The first thing I noticed wasn't her missing leg. It was the way everyone else noticed it. The cafeteria was loud that afternoon in a small college town in Ohio, the kind of place where conversations blurred into a constant hum and laughter echoed off cold tiled floors. I was sitting alone at the corner table like I usually did, staring down at my half-eaten sandwich, trying not to think about how invisible I felt in a room full of people. That's when the noise shifted, subtle but sharp enough to catch my attention, a ripple of whispers, chairs scraping, heads turning. And then she appeared. She moved slowly but confidently, balancing on one leg with the help of a sleek metal crutch. Her auburn hair was tied back in a loose ponytail, and her eyes, calm, steady, almost too brave for someone walking into a room that clearly wasn't ready for her, scanned the cafeteria. People pretended not to stare, but they did. Some looked away too quickly. Others didn't bother hiding it at all. She paused near my table. For a moment, I thought she might turn away like everyone else usually did when they saw me sitting alone. But instead, she looked directly at me, and there was something in her expression, not pity, not hesitation, just quiet hope. She asked if she could sit with me, and without fully understanding why, I said yes. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in the small moments that can change a life, take a second right now to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. You never know whose life you might touch just by showing up. Her name was Grace. That was the first thing she told me after carefully lowering herself into the chair across from me. The way she said it was simple, almost casual, like she had no idea how perfectly it suited her. I introduced myself as Michael, suddenly aware of how awkward I sounded, how unprepared I was for this moment. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke, but it wasn't uncomfortable. There was a strange kind of peace sitting there with her, like the chaos of the cafeteria had somehow dimmed around us. I noticed the details, the way she carefully adjusted her crutch against the table, the faint scar visible just above where her prosthetic began, the way her hands moved with quiet confidence. Most people would have asked about her leg immediately. I didn't. Maybe because I knew what it felt like to be reduced to the most obvious thing about you. For me, it was being the quiet guy, the loner, the one people overlooked. For her, it was something far more visible, far more cruel in how the world responded to it. Instead, I asked her what she was studying. She smiled, and just like that, something shifted. Grace talked about nursing, about wanting to help people the way someone once helped her. She spoke with a kind of passion that made you forget everything else, like her words carried weight because they came from somewhere real. I found myself listening, not just hearing her, but truly listening, in a way I hadn't done with anyone in a long time. Days turned into weeks. We started sitting together every day. What began as a simple "can I sit with you?" became a routine neither of us questioned. People noticed, of course. They always do. Whispers followed us sometimes, curious glances, the occasional cruel laugh when they thought we couldn't hear. But something about Grace made it easier to ignore. She had this way of seeing the world, not through what was missing, but through what remained. She laughed easily, even when things were hard. She didn't hide her struggles, but she didn't let them define her either. And slowly, without realizing it, she started changing me too. I began to talk more. I started showing up to places I used to avoid. I even found myself smiling, really smiling, without forcing it. It felt unfamiliar at first, like trying on a version of myself I didn't quite recognize, but it felt right. One afternoon, as we sat outside under the fading autumn sun, she told me her story. It happened 2 years earlier, a car accident on a rainy night, a driver who never saw the red light. Everything changed in a matter of seconds. She woke up in a hospital bed, her life divided into before and after. She didn't tell the story dramatically, she didn't cry, but I could hear the weight in her voice, the quiet pauses between her words where the pain still lived. She spoke about the surgeries, the long months of rehabilitation, the moments when she thought she would never walk again, not even like this. And then she said something that stayed with me. She said the hardest part wasn't losing her leg, it was losing the way people looked at her. The pity, the assumptions, the way strangers decided who she was before she even had a chance to speak. That's when I realized something. Grace wasn't just strong, she was surviving something invisible every single day. Our friendship grew deeper after that. We started sharing things we hadn't told anyone else. Late-night conversations turned into long walks, well, as much as she could manage, and quiet moments that didn't need words at all. She told me I made her feel normal. I told her she made me feel seen. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I mattered to someone. But life has a way of testing the things that matter most. It happened during the winter. The campus was covered in snow, the kind that looked beautiful until you had to walk through it. I was running late that day, rushing toward the cafeteria when I saw a small crowd gathered near the entrance. And then I saw her. Grace was on the ground. Her crutch had slipped on the ice, and she had fallen hard. People stood around, some watching, some whispering, but no one was helping. For a split second I froze, not because I didn't care, but because the sight of her there, vulnerable and hurting, hit me harder than I expected. Then I moved. I pushed through the crowd and knelt beside her, my heart pounding. Her face was pale, her breath uneven, but she tried to smile when she saw me. Tried. And that broke something inside me. I helped her up, carefully, ignoring the stares, the murmurs. I didn't care anymore. Not about what anyone thought, not about how it looked. All I cared about was her. We sat together inside afterward, her hands trembling slightly as she wrapped them around a cup of coffee. For the first time since I met her, she looked tired, not physically, emotionally. She said she was fine, but I knew she wasn't. That was the day everything changed, because I realized I wasn't just her friend anymore. I needed to be someone she could lean on, not out of pity, but out of choice, out of respect, out of something deeper that I didn't fully understand yet. So I stayed, through the hard days, through the quiet ones, through the moments when she didn't want to talk and the ones when she needed to say everything. And little by little she started to heal in ways I couldn't see. Not her leg, her spirit. There was one moment I'll never forget. Spring had just begun, and the campus was alive again. Flowers blooming, students laughing, everything feeling new. Grace asked me to meet her near the old oak tree by the lake, the place we had started going to when we needed quiet. When I arrived, she was standing there. No crutch. For a second I didn't understand what I was seeing. Then she took a step, slow, careful, determined. And then another. Tears filled my eyes before I could stop them. She didn't walk far. But she didn't need to. Because in that moment, it wasn't about distance. It was about everything she had overcome to take those steps. She looked at me, her eyes shining with something I had never seen before. Not just strength, but freedom. And I realized something else. She had changed me just as much as I had supported her. Before her, I was surviving. With her, I was living. Before we reach the end of this story, I want to ask you something special. If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever judged someone too quickly, or if someone's kindness has changed your life, leave a comment right now. Your story matters more than you think. Life didn't suddenly become perfect after that. It never does. Grace still had hard days. I still struggled with my own doubts. But we face them differently now, together. She taught me that strength isn't about what you don't have. It's about what you choose to carry anyway. And I taught her that she was never alone. That simple moment in the cafeteria, the question she asked, the answer I gave, it wasn't just the beginning of a friendship. It was the beginning of a new life for both of us. A life where we weren't defined by what we lacked, but by what we found in each other. So if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of kindness, don't just scroll away. Like this video, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe for more stories that remind us what it truly means to be human. Because sometimes, all it takes is one simple yes to change everything.